Municipality of Anchorage Platting Board Authority. We are now coming to order. We meet on 6:30 p.m., typically the first Wednesday of the month. We're meeting this time the third. May we have roll call?
Dan Young.
Present.
Becky Lipson.
Present.
Clayton Walker.
Present.
Mark Seward.
Present.
Valerie Ritz.
Present.
Jana Welton.
Present.
Christina Enix, Don Porter, and Kevin Cross have been excused. Thank you.
Thank you. First order of business is considering the approvals. May I have a motion to approve the action summary from Wednesday, June 6, 2018? Dan Young has moved, and Becky Lipsum has seconded. Is there any opposition to approving the action summary? Seeing none, the motion passes. Next, we'll turn to the minutes. We have minutes before us from Wednesday, June 6, 2018. May I have a motion to approve the minutes? Becky Lipsum has moved, and Valerie Ritz has seconded. Are there any changes, amendments, or other items that need to be addressed in the minutes? Seeing none, is there any opposition to approving the minutes as drafted? Seeing no opposition, the minutes are approved as drafted. We'll now turn to special order of business. Are there any disclosures this evening? Dan Young.
Yes, through the chair. In the case of C3, I wasn't present at the original hearing, and so tonight I'm going to abstain on voting. Although if the board chooses to rehear this, I could participate.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other disclosures that need to be made this evening? As a point of order, may I have a motion to take up is it case S12420 that's being postponed? I have a motion to consider that out of order. Dan Young has moved to hear case S12420, and Becky Lipsum has seconded. Is there any opposition to taking this out of order and postponing it? Okay, so we will take F1C in your packet. Case S12420, Spruce Terraces subdivision. May I have a motion to postpone that matter? She'll pull it up in a minute. All right, I think we're ready now. Dan Young has moved. Valerie Ritz has seconded. Any opposition to postponing this matter pursuant to the movement's request? Seeing no opposition, the motion passes. We will now go back to informational items, special order of business. We have abbreviated plat action summaries for June 11th and July 9th. We have a motion to approve those are just informational items for the record. Let the minutes reflect that we have reported them. And next we will take up case S12380, a request for rehearing and reopening of Platting Board case S12380. In this matter, the petitioner has filed a document alleging new evidence or changed circumstances as a basis for reopening the case pursuant to 2111-304D. They were required to file that within 20 days. It appears that it was filed stamped May 18th. I believe that's within 20 days of that hearing. Upon filing the motion, we are supposed to expedite consideration of this motion and determine whether to open it. In order to reopen it, we have to find two things. One, that the alleged new evidence or changed circumstances would substantially change the decision of the board, and that the person alleging new evidence or changed circumstances has acted promptly and diligently in bringing the information to our attention. Does anyone wish to state a motion to reopen case 2111-503? Becky Libson.
Through the chair, I have a question either for staff or for you. If we move to reopen this, the public hearing would not be today, it would be at a further date. Is that correct?
From staff.
Through the chair, Ms. Lipson, yes, I would recommend that you guys set a public hearing date in the future if you wish to do that.
And how far out do we need to go? If we go 1 month, do you guys have enough time to procedurally do what needs to be done?
Well, we'll need 21 days notice to notify for the public hearing. It's possible we could do that, yes.
And has there been a request for a longer time by the petitioner?
To my knowledge, no.
Okay. Does that bring up any other questions for you?
No, that satisfies that. Thank you.
So for the this specific matter, one of the issues that was raised was they wanted to be excused from building the entire length of the road through the subdivision that affronted the houses that they were constructing. And one of the reasons they stated that it was too expensive to build the road. We now have a estimate. Based on this estimate, would it change, substantially change anyone's vote on the board on this matter? Becky.
And through the chair, is this a question being posed to us now, or is it the question is whether or not it would?
Yeah, in order to reopen, the evidence would have to be such that it would materially change or substantially change the decision of the board that we made. So at this point, we can assume that the evidence would be credible and further supported. The question is, the other piece is we need to have a motion in order to have a discussion about those issues. Becky Libson, would you like to state a motion?
Yes. I would like to introduce a motion to move to reopen the public hearing in case S12380.
And your motion has been seconded by Jenna Welton. Would you like to speak to your motion?
Yes. So under the applicable code, the two considerations we're tasked with considering at this point are whether the new evidence, which is the cost of the road, which we requested at the public hearing and which wasn't available at that time, if that would substantially change the decision of the board. And second, whether the person bringing forth the new evidence has acted diligently. I will say I will be voting in favor of my motion. I think the amount of the monetary amount involved in this matter is substantial, and I would like to hear further testimony as to the basis for that amount, and then find out, given the opportunity for the public to speak to that, whether that changes any considerations of the neighbors who were quite vocal in this matter. And second, by meeting the deadline, the 20-day deadline, they acted diligently in bringing forth this evidence. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the board that would like to speak or make findings on the motion? Is there any opposition to the motion on the floor? Seeing no opposition to the motion on the floor, the motion passes. At this time, we should probably also set a time for the hearing. Do we need a motion on that? Or can you guys administratively take care of that end of it?
I'm looking to the clerk in this one, but I believe,
Through the chair, we could have put it in her motion to have it at the next
yes, available.
planning board meeting.
Planning board
We
meeting.
can just,
You can,
we can make another motion as quickly as we could amend the last one.
The next meeting is in 2 weeks.
Next meeting is in 2 weeks. They will need 21 days.
so it won't be until September.
So through the chair, if it's 2 weeks, that's too close.
Right.
So it'll have to be
September.
September. Mr. Chair, I have September 5th, I believe is the date.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes, Becky Lipsum, you have the floor.
Thank you. I would like to move to amend the motion that I just made to rehear the public hearing in this matter on September 5th,
Thank you. 2018. And
2018.
may I have a second on that motion?
It won't be an amendment because it's already been voted on.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Is there any other findings anyone would like to make? Any opposition to the motion? Then Jana Wilson's seconded that motion, and the motion passes unopposed. The procedure by which the public may speak to the Platting Board at this meeting is after staff's presentation is complete on public hearing items, I will ask for public testimony on the issue. Persons wishing to testify follow the time limits established in the Commission Rules of Procedure. Petitioners will go first. They, including all the representatives, are given 10 minutes. They may reserve part of their time for rebuttal. Representatives of groups and PTAs come second with 5 minutes each, and individuals are given 3 minutes. When your testimony is complete, the board may ask you questions. You may only testify once on an issue unless the board questions you further. Any individual may have appeal rights relating to any action the Platting Board takes. Appeal of this decision or any of the conditions is governed by AMC 2111-304. The decision of the board at the scheduled public hearing becomes final 7 days after the decision is made on the record, unless a written request is submitted to the Planning Division prior to the expiration of the 7th day to prepare a written decision based on the record made at this hearing, and the request is accompanied by a written notice of intent to appeal. Adoption of the written decision by the Platting Board becomes the final appealable decision. Within 20 days of the final appealable decision, an interested party must file with the municipal clerk either a motion alleging new evidence or changed circumstances per AMC 2111-503, or an appeal of the board's final appealable decision under AMC 2130. With that, we'll now turn to new business, and we will take up public hearings with case S12378, Yosemite TLO subdivision tracks 1 through 5. May we have staff's presentation?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is a request to subdivide 3 lots into 5 tracts with vacation of a 150-foot wide, 2.26 acre section of right-of-way under ADL 62649. That's near the intersection of Eagle River Loop Road and Yosemite Drive. This subdivision request is being made to dedicate the right-of-way for Yosemite Drive and create tracts for the remaining sections of land bounded by the right-of-way. The petition site is primarily fronted by East Eagle River Loop Road, Highland Road, and Yosemite Drive intersection out in Eagle River. The property is zoned PCD SL, and future development will need to adhere to the requirements of AMC 2110-040F.3. That's zoning districts, other districts. There were no objections by the reviewing agencies to this platting action. East Eagle River Loop Road is classified as an Alaska DOT and public facilities maintained right-of-way. It is classified as a Class 3 arterial in the current OSH&P, Official Streets and Highways Plan. The East Eagle River Loop Road right-of-way is controlled access. Highland Road, also an Alaska DOT-owned, and Chuyak-Birchwood Eagle River Rural Road Service Area maintained right-of-way is classified as a Class 1B collector in the current OSH&P. The preliminary plat appears to generally conform to the goals and policies of the Chuyak Eagle River Comprehensive Plan. The land use plan map designates the southern half of the former landfill site area. That's east of Yosemite Drive, proposed to become tracks 2 and 3 as a special study area. The plan states that these areas are subject to a site-specific land use study before land use designation or development. In keeping with the comprehensive plan, an area-specific land use study should be completed. That's prior to any development that occurs on those tracks. With the vacation request, the petitioner is proposing to vacate a 150-foot wide, 2.26 acre section of right-of-way that served as access to a former landfill. It's been encapsulated and deemed properly enclosed by the Department of Environmental Conservation. It does not connect to any other roads, highways, or rights-of-way, so vacation of this right-of-way will allow the petitioner to utilize their land. The Municipal Traffic Department and right-of-way has no objection to the vacation of the right-of-way. Underneath AMC 2103-230A, the vacation request meets the standards for vacation. The right-of-way is surplus to municipal need and is no longer needed as it was originally used for access to the former landfill, which is now long closed. The right-of-way is not listed in the classification listings of streets in the Chuyak River Official Streets and Highways Plan. The right-of-way is not laying within the half-mile or quarter-mile grid. Future subdivision of the tracks will require dedication for right-of-way for that level of development. Yosemite Drive is being dedicated, which provides access to tracks 1 and 2, and the 50-foot section line easements remain around the perimeter of the tracks. Traffic circulation will not be affected through this vacation, so generally reviewing agencies had either no comment or no objections to the vacation request. Therefore, staff believes that the right-of-way is in excess of municipal need and recommends approval of this vacation subject to the condition A found on page 10 of the staff packet, and also staff believes that approval of the plat for 24 months is found on page 10B, and that's 1 through 6 conditions. I'll be happy to answer any questions, and I believe the petitioner, his representative, is here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Does the board have any questions for staff? Becky Lipsum.
Thank you. Through the chair, I did notice on page 60 of our packet that NSTAR they requested a plat note be added, and I was just wondering what staff wanted to do with that plat note.
Through the chair, Ms. Lipson, so condition number 1, resolve utility easements. That falls under all utilities, and when the petitioner goes to get sign-offs for the final plat, the NSTAR will work with the petitioner on the plat note that they'll require. So during the final plat phase process, all utilities will be able to comment with whatever easements they need, and that'll be placed upon the plat. So it'll be handled.
Great, thank you.
Any additional questions? May we have petitioner's representative?
Hello, my name is Jake Gerondale, spelled last name Gerondale. I represent the petitioner on this project, which is to subdivide 3 lots into 5 tracts with the primary goal to...
Sir,
yes.
can you tip that microphone up just a bit so we can make a better record for you?
Is that better?
That's a lot.
There we go. The primary goal of this plat is to dedicate the improved portion of Yosemite Drive and vacate the excess right-of-way. And I don't really have any other comments on this plat.
Okay. And does that raise any questions with the board? We don't have any questions for you yet. So you have 9 minutes, 18 seconds for rebuttal.
I'm good.
Okay. Do we have any members of the public that wish to speak? I think you have a member of the public that's going to come speak.
My name is Joe Vicente. I'm the developer of Eagle Point, a subdivision not too far from this plat.
Your last name again is?
Vicente, Vicente.
Okay, and then you're with the developer?
No, I have a subdivision not too far from this plat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anyway, my big objection is that the planning department consistently refuses to recognize there is an open access on Eagle River Loop Road to serve this area, specifically the Eagle River High School. That access was shown on the final plat for the Eagle River Loop Road, but the planning department refuses to recognize that. I met with them 2 months ago, told them that, and they kept telling me, no, there is no open access. There is an open access, and I would like to give you a copy of that open access as reflected in the plat.
Go ahead and have this exhibit marked.
That I circled the area with the open access, and that is a plat number 2011-21. The answer from the planning department was that even though the information is provided to them, no, I would have to provide it to the. I don't understand that. That access is extremely important, was discussed when the high school site was being planned, because that high school presently only has one access on Yosemite Drive, which is sufficient for the 800 students. But when the high school is expanded to the 1,600 students, it needs another access. All new high schools have the traffic is directed in at least 2 directions, exiting the high school. This is the only new high school where that does not happen. It is adequate now for 800 students, but for the 1,600 students is not adequate. And that's the reason the municipality and others requested for that open access to provide the second access to the high school. The plat must reflect either a right-of-way to the high school, or a note on the plat and provision showing easement leading to the high school. It's extremely important.
Thank you. Did you have any other points you wanted to make?
No, that's the only problem. I have a question about one of the tracts where they vacating a right-of-way. That typically, I thought that all the lots and tracts had to have access to a right-of-way. It will have access probably in the future to that access to the high school, but this plat does not reflect that.
And does that raise any questions? Jana Weltson.
I actually wanted to ask staff to respond to, Mr. Vincent, I think, his comment about the access to the high school.
Through the chair, Ms. Welton, I don't have that document in front of me, but it sounds like it's if the student population at Eagle River High School exceeds 1,600, then they'll have to provide a secondary access. So that would be a developmental issue with Anchorage School District once it meets that threshold.
What are they at right now?
It sounds like, from what Mr. Vicente said, they're at 800.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's a development issue there that would take place.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, the common areas of the high school were designed and constructed to the 1,600 students, but only classrooms for 800 students. Because when the high school was constructed, it was not needed for more than 800. Last year, they had 900 students. But eventually, it will be needed. So this is planning. Let's plan, If I may, I'd like to give you, if I may.
And the document you shared with us is a survey document?
It's a plat. It's a plat recorded by the Department of Transportation. The plat reflecting the right-of-way for Eagle River Loop Road.
Thank you. Dan Young, you have a question?
Yes, through the chair, Mr. Vincent. On page 13 of our staff packet, do you have a copy of the map?
No, I don't.
My question, so page 13,
Okay, I have a copy here now.
so how would what you showed us, how would that modify what we're looking at on page 13?
The plat should reflect the location of the future right-of-way through an easement or note on the plat. It does not show that at all.
And Mr. Vincent, again on page 13, the shape of the polygon that's going to be vacated as proposed for vacation, would that be the same shape that should be open, or would it be reduced?
The polygon?
Yeah, where it says PCSL Highland Road.
No, that will remain the same. I think that eventually is going to change because the second phase of the Eagle River Loop Road needs to be constructed, which is instead of the Eagle River Road turning right and going to the Glen Highway, the second phase is for the extension of Eagle River Loop Road via flyway, what is called flyway, over the freeway and connecting to the freeway. When that is done, by agreement between the state and the mental health lands, the branch of Highland Road at the present intersection will be vacated and given to the mental health lands.
Yeah,
And again, through the chair, Mr. Vincent, staff said that the threshold was 1,600 students, and currently there's 800 students?
Yes.
And you're discussing future planning.
Yeah.
Do you have any knowledge of when the school would be up to 1,600?
No, I do not have. The high school, however, was constructed, the common areas were for 1,600 students. The demand for 1,600 students is not there now, will be in the future, but not now.
Again, and through the chair for staff, do you have any information of when that population threshold is anticipated to be met?
Through the chair, Ms. Young, no, we do not. That would be with the Anchorage School District.
And again, for staff, through the chair, for future planning, if we vacate this now and then the population increases where this is needed, what would be planning's solution to that?
Well, what's being in front of you tonight to be vacated is just the short 150-foot wide, 2.26 acre section that does not connect to any other right-of-way, highways, or anything like that. The 50-foot section line easements will still exist, and that could possibly be how they would access.
Thank you.
If I may show, Mr. Young, the opening on the Glen Highway is approximately in this location.
Staff, if we turn to page 23 of your packet, is the access that's supposed to go up towards Yosemite Drive, towards that high school, is that what's being reflected in the map there on page 23? That's not being reflected on the page 13?
Through the chair, or Mr. Chair, let me get up to, so you're saying on page 13, well, 13 is just a overall kind of map. Yes.
And
So if you look at page 13, Yosemite Drive basically is not dedicated from the point between East Eagle River Loop Road and to where you can see it there. However, this plat before you is dedicating Yosemite Drive,
so
the connection between the existing dedicated right-of-way and East Eagle River Loop Road.
So that has been dedicated, and the action we're going to take tonight, it will not affect, it's already,
No, the action tonight you're taking will be dedicating that section of Eagle River, of Yosemite Drive.
so we will be providing
Yes.
the access that he's concerned about.
I think Mr. Vicen's talking about a secondary access.
It's a second access that I'm talking about.
I don't see where secondary access comes out of this law.
No,
There's,
if you don't mind, the planning department refused to recognize there is a second access, or provisions were made for a second high school, access to the high school. And the matter was addressed, when the planning for the high school was made, and that's why there is an opening on the right-of-way for the Eagle River Road.
Okay. What, I'm having a difficult time identifying what it is they're asking to be vacated. Where, is there a page that's more clear?
through the chair, or Mr. Chair, page 23 shows it. It's the hatched area that just comes off at a 35-degree angle there. Your large plat that was provided in the packet will show it too. It's hatched and labeled.
I didn't get the large packet for
The large.
for this
No.
specific one. Okay.
Page 23
So we
does
are
show
being
it.
asked to vacate this access.
I didn't hear you. Come again?
So they're specifically asking us to vacate this access that is provided on these other plats.
Yes, this short section of right-of-way.
Oh, but I'm not clear either. May I speak?
Yes.
Through the chair, I'm used to getting large maps so that we can understand these, and there's no maps included in our packet, large maps other than the one on page 23. So I see two areas that appear to be hatched, and I want to ask staff, are both of these being vacated or just the one in the central part of the diagram?
Just the one that's angled in the central part of the diagram. The one on the left, the Yosemite Drive, is being dedicated.
Okay, and through the chair, staff, again, so this portion that's being proposed to be vacated, if it were to be used in the future, if we didn't vacate it and it were to be used in the future for secondary access, what you've said is, and what it's shown here is there's no connection to any other right-of-way.
That is correct.
So it appears to be in excess of the municipal needs.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Becky Lipsome.
Thank you. For our speaker, I was wondering, sir, have you contacted ASD about your questions?
Not now. There was contact with LSD a long time ago on the planning of the school. I contacted the planning department 2 months ago when I became aware of this plat, and I've not contacted anybody else. The requirement for the second access was because of the location of the high school, where the traffic at the full development, the traffic needs more than one access. And that was decided then, and that's why the state made sure there was an opening in the right-of-way for that second access. And that was with the participation of the municipality of Anchorage. I'm very disappointed the planning department is not aware of that action.
Okay, and thank you, sir. I have a question. I have a couple questions for staff through the chair. First, so if you could explain to me how the process is. So I see the area that's being requested to be vacated, and I see that it doesn't connect to any other access. How with the the plat that was provided to us, 2011-21, how do those two documents relate to each other? Like, what would the next step be if a secondary access was to be put in?
Okay, through the chair, Ms. Lipson, that would be up to the Anchorage School District if there is a threshold or that they have to, once they meet 1,600 students and they have to provide a secondary access, that would be up to them working with TLO to either use these section line easements or replat, because right now these are just being platted out into tracks, and they would have to come into an agreement for an access, and that would either be through dedication, replatting, or using the section line easements that are existing.
And then my second question is, would these types of discussions happen at all in the master plan process, or is that would the master plan process as contemplated for this project not discuss those types of issues?
It's unknown what development's going to occur on there at this time. It could. It depends on the level of development that happens on these tracks, if it does in the future happen. And there could be, further subdivision of these tracks. Right now, it's just a plat to subdivide these into 5 tracks around the existing right-of-way and to dedicate that Yosemite Drive.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Mark Seward.
Through the chair, questions of staff. In the public hearing comments, the Anchorage School District would have been notified of this platting action, correct?
That is correct.
And I cannot find any comments from them, so they must not have too much of an objection to this plat.
There was no comments received from Anchorage School District.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Are
I
there
must say I'm not necessarily requesting that the right-of-way be provided now, but at least a note on the plat to notify future people that there's a need for a right-of-way.
We understand. We appreciate you bringing that to our attention. Is there any other members of the public that wish to speak this evening?
Good evening. My name is Chuck Moore. I'm probably the closest resident to the properties in question tonight, or the land in question tonight. If you'll refer to page 13 in your packets, in the top right-hand corner, you'll see a subdivision which Mr. Vincente developed. I live probably the closest one. Either it was renamed or it's named in error. I actually live on Lassen Circle, which is at the end of Lassen Street. It's named on this map Knick Arm, which is not correct. So the map's not correct as of today anyway, because my address is 8508 Lassen Circle. So I'm probably the second closest property to any of this. And I'm not real familiar with your operation, so I apologize if my question is ignorant. However, I have read all 155 pages of due diligence here, which is very impressive. My question, however, is that there's not a single answer to the why on page 2 of the sentence that says, under the request, it says, this subdivision request is being made to dedicate the right-of-way for Yosemite Drive. It clearly answers that. But then it goes on to say, and creates tracks for the remaining section of land bounded by the right-of-way. I see no answer in the 155 pages here of the why behind creating the other tracks. I understand that, and maybe somebody can explain it to me, I understand the right-of-way issue, but there's no need for the right-of-way issue to develop or to divide it into 5 different tracks. So I was wondering if somebody could answer that question for me tonight. And that's what I have for you. Also, just as a side note, I do work for the school district, and I did ask them tonight if they were attending the meeting, and they did tell me that no, they were not attending because they did not know of this situation. So just for what it's worth, I heard the previous comments. So
Thank you.
thank you.
Mark Stewart, do you have a question, or was that for the last one?
No, that was never erased, but I would respond to the comment. The school district would have been notified because part of the process is required in the community council meetings that a certain distance and a certain volume of residents and neighbors are notified of it. So they did receive a notice, have an opportunity, but knowing the school district, it maybe got lost on somebody's desk.
And that could very well be the case, because I know I did get notice of this. I actually got noticed of it probably, 3 or 4 months ago, and then this meeting was postponed to tonight. So I did receive both notices at my house, so that's why I'm here tonight. So I wouldn't disagree with your comments, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? Thank you. Are there any other members of the public that wish to speak tonight? In that case, you have your time for rebuttal.
Okay, as to the issue with the secondary access to Eagle River High School, you know, that issue I imagine would be, you know, something that would happen at a later date between the school district and the landowner when they hit that threshold. It's not something that I believe would be resolved on this plat here tonight or on this platting action. As for the why, the main purpose of this plat was, as stated, to dedicate Yosemite Drive, and the landowner has chosen to basically tract out their land as part of their agreement with the municipality. There's no, to my knowledge, there's no development plans, and if there was, that would, you know, have to go through the proper channels in the future.
Thank you. Does that raise any questions? Mark Seward or Becky Lipson?
Thank you. I can see the topography map on page 28 of our packet. I was wondering, there was mention that possibly the secondary access could be put in the section line easement, and I was wondering whether you are familiar with the topography enough to answer whether that would be a feasible alternative.
There is a lot that would go into developing a secondary access more than just the topography, especially in this intersection. So there'd be probably some traffic analysis and various things that would go into it. I believe that it'd, you know, just by looking at it, it would be buildable, but I'm not a professional engineer to make that opinion. And there'd be a lot more information that would go into that decision.
Sure, and I certainly understand you're on the spot. My second question is somewhat more basic. I am having a lot of trouble figuring out where how this drawing intersects with the plat map that is in front of me, and we're operating on the small ones. And so, have you seen this?
I don't, you know, I just see it from, I may have seen that particular drawing, but I can't tell which one you're looking at right now. I don't have it memorized.
Okay, well, I'm actually going, if I could hand it to you and then you could show us, because I don't think I'm the only one who's had this.
Trying to orient myself here. Yeah. I mean, the intersection's right here. I don't see the intersection on here. This is Glen Highway. 24. Section. So yeah, this is up to the east. Yeah, this is up to this is this connects to nothing. Yeah, so this is to the east of our current property.
Are we still talking about access that would have been provided on the parcel for tonight, or is it a different parcel altogether?
For the secondary access? Oh. I can't speak to the plan of where the secondary access would be, but this drawing that we're looking at here appears to be to the east of our property. There is a section line easement here that could be an alternative for secondary access. My concern with these tracts of land for secondary access to the Eagle River High School is its proximity to the intersection of Yosemite, Eagle River Loop Road, and Highland, that I doubt that they would bring a secondary access right into that mix. It probably would be to, I can't say, but I would most likely be not really close to this intersection. So
Was the conclusion it'd be to the east of your property?
that would be for planners and designers and, master planning. That would be something that would be outside of the scope of what we're doing here today.
To what standards is this section that we're being asked to vacate? And what has it been constructed to? What standards has it been constructed to?
Right now, out there, there is no actual road that
It's dirt,
It's dirt.
gravel?
I believe there's a gate there that some people park in and walk their dogs and do various things.
And it dead ends on the lot itself?
Yeah, there's no constructed road. It's a two-rut.
And how wide is this section? It's 150 feet wide?
It is 150 feet wide.
And how long is it?
The length varies. On the southern part, it's 556 feet, and on the northern part, it's 748 feet, approximately.
And so, in the future, when the school gets to the point it needs to have secondary access, this would be a section of road the municipality would not have to pay to acquire, that they could connect up to make their secondary access.
I guess in theory, yes.
And so that means that it has value, and that creates a standard problem. In order for us to vacate this, we have to make a finding that it's surplus to the future needs of the municipality. Do you have anything you'd like to offer about why it's won't be a future need?
I believe that this, it was designed for the access to the previous landfill. I personally don't think it will be a future need because of its location and proximity to this major intersection. That with controlled access on Highland Road and Eagle River Loop Road, that this would not be used for a secondary access to Eagle River High School.
Are there alternate routes that a secondary access could be given to Eagle River that aren't even required across this parcel?
Yes, and it's my personal opinion that they wouldn't provide access across these parcels just because of its proximity. This particular map is to the east of our parcel, and it may be more viable to go to a different, a parcel of land that's not as close to this intersection. And again, that would be something that would have to be studied and engineered at a later date.
I have a question for staff. Would it be acceptable for us to put in a provision as one of the conditions on the plat that they have to resolve with the school district, the secondary access?
Mr. Chair, so when you say resolve, that would be pretty open-ended.
Well, resolve with whether or not the standard for vacation exists because they won't need it because they have an alternate plans on how they're going to achieve their secondary access, or whether they're intending to link up with this existing road.
Well, the standards for the vacation fell underneath the municipal traffic engineer, who stated that they see this as in excess, and so is right-of-way.
And was the traffic engineer aware of the school district need for secondary access once the school population grows?
I didn't speak specifically with him about that, but he is a former ASD employee who was somewhat aware of that. The portion that's requested to be vacated, as Jake had mentioned, is, as you stated, it's the reviewing agencies found it in excess. It comes in close to that secondary intersection, and it's at a very sharp angle to which I don't believe meets code, to the existing East Eagle River Loop Road. I believe that's some of the factors that was taken into account as why it's in excess.
Where else does the city plan on putting secondary access? When I look at the page 28, it doesn't look like there's very many places that are not steep or too steep for a secondary access, other than that second location very close to the first. Is it possible to address the secondary access by having more lanes in the same spot that they already have?
I wouldn't be able to answer that. That's more of a municipal traffic engineer question, and it's kind of outside the purview of the plat as far as secondary access. That would be up to the Anchorage School District to work with the state or to figure out where they're going to provide access.
Does that raise any other questions? Jana Welton.
So I don't know why we don't have a large map in our file, but I mean, I can't even read the notes on page 23, and, you know.
Through the chair, I can provide a large, we do have a large one.
Provide a large
Yep.
one now, but we've been debating this for 45 minutes, and, you know, this is part of our preparation is to review it.
Yeah, I'm not sure why the large full size was not included.
For me, I don't feel satisfied that I've actually been able to look and digest and understand the information because I can't read it. And with this issue, I'm going to be a no vote unless we table this to another hearing to get bigger maps and flesh out this issue a little bit more for me.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Oh, were you done? You do have 6 more minutes. I think we might have sidetracked your.
I guess just my one comment is I don't believe it's TLO's responsibility to provide the access to ASD. It's the ASD's responsibility to find the access they need. It may or may not be through this property, and whenever that is determined, they would have to purchase the property from the prospective landowner. So I don't believe that this platting action of these large tracts is necessarily the vehicle for determining the secondary access to the high school in the future. That's all I have.
Thank you. Becky Lipsum.
Yes, sorry, sir. I have one more question. So I am leaning on the side of also being uncomfortable with the information I have in front of me, and that's not necessarily a reflection that ultimately I would choose to not support vacation. This is both, I guess my question is for staff first. Are we able as a board to request to table this discussion and request new information from the petitioner?
Through the chair, Ms. Lipson, yep, you can make a motion to postpone it to the next 2 weeks from now or whenever the petitioner, if that gives them enough time.
And then directing my question back to the petitioner, I understand that we've raised a lot of issues regarding ASD. Would you be willing to, most of my discomfort comes with, I'm sure ASD got a notice, but I'm not sure that they realized what a significant issue this would be and whether or not you would be willing to reach out to ASD and personally bring the issue to someone's attention. And I know that's a big ask. So
This plat is actually part of the Yosemite Drive reconstruction project. So I can full disclosure, I am working for the municipality on this plating action and representing TLO. So I believe that meeting can be set up and more information can be brought forth.
Okay, and is 2 weeks enough time, or would you rather come back in September?
I don't think 2 weeks would be enough time to pull that together.
Okay. Thank you for that information.
May I have a motion to approve the request for vacation? Public hearing is now closed. And with that, may I have a motion to approve the request for vacation of 150-foot wide, 2.26 acre section? Seeing no one, may I have a motion to table this matter for a later date? Make that motion to postpone. Becky Lipson.
I would move to postpone the determination in this matter and until September 5th. And I'm not sure if in doing that, that requires a public hearing. So I don't want that to be part of my motion. To request more information as to whether this right-of-way that's been requested to be vacated is in fact, does have future value to the municipality.
Thank you. And Jana Welton has seconded your motion. Would you like to speak to your motion?
I would just like to add for the hearing where we continue this matter, if we can get some big maps that we can read.
Thank you. Is there any opposition to the motion on the floor? Seeing none, the motion carries, and this matter is postponed to September 5th. Next, we will take up case S12414, O'Dowd Acres subdivisions lots 1 through 3. May we have staff's presentation?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a request to subdivide one lot into 3 lots with vacation of one 30-foot public use easement dedicated via Book 197, page 132, located along the abutting property lines of Strawberry Road, and one public use easement dedicated via Book 59, page 496, located in the southwest corner of the parcel near the intersection of West 78th Avenue and Jason Place. This subdivision request is being made to prepare the property for future residential development. The petition site is primarily fronted by Jason Place, south of Strawberry Road, north of West 78th Avenue, and west of McHenry Circle in Anchorage. The purpose of this platting action is to subdivide one large lot into 3 lots to be developed for single-family homes and to clean up the property by replacing 2 public use easements with dedicated right-of-way. There is an existing single-family home located on proposed Lot 2, which will remain. Lots 1 and 3 are vacant. The petitioner intends to further subdivide Lot 3 in the near future. The property is zoned R1, and the proposed lots meet the minimum lot size and width requirements of Anchorage Municipal Code, Title 21. There were no objections by the reviewing agencies to this platting action or the vacation of the 2 public use easements. The preliminary plat appears to generally conform to the goals and policies of the Anchorage 2040 Land Use Plan and the West Anchorage District Plan. Specifically, the parcel conforms to Land Use Objective 2, Transportation Objective 3, and Utility Objective 1 of the West Anchorage District Plan. In regards to the vacation request, the petitioner is proposing to vacate 2 public use easements within the existing parcel. The first PUE, a 30-foot easement dedicated via Book 197, page 132, running the length of the northern property line abutting Strawberry Road, was dedicated for the development of Strawberry Road. The second PUE, a quarter dome-shaped easement dedicated via Book 59, page 496, located on the southwest corner of the existing parcel near the intersection of West 78th Avenue and Jason Place. It is unclear to staff why this easement was dedicated in this configuration. However, it is most likely due to incremental residential development through various subdivisions along West 78th Avenue occurring in the 1970s. Both of these easements will be replaced with dedicated public right-of-way. The Municipal Traffic Department has no objection to the vacation of the public use easements. Generally, reviewing agencies had either no comment or no objection to the vacation request. Therefore, staff believes that these public use easements are in excess of municipal need. The vacation requests have been reviewed and found to conform to the municipal vacation policy. Staff recommends approval of the preliminary plat and easement vacation subject to the conditions as stated in the staff packet on pages 12 and 13 before the board tonight. And with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions. And thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Does the board have any questions for staff? May we have petitioner's representative?
Hello, my name is Brian O'Dowd. I'm the petitioner, the owner, and the resident of the property in question, and I'm also a licensed engineer in the state of Alaska. So essentially, I want to divide my land into three lots, and then construct the cul-de-sac for emergency vehicle use, and then dedicate the right-of-way to Jason Place, and then dedicate the right-of-way to 78th, and then vacate the two public use easements like they just mentioned. And I think that's it.
Thank you. You've got 9 minutes, 33 seconds for rebuttal. Does the board have any questions for Mr. Brian O'Dowd? Seeing none, are there any members of the public that have come to speak on this matter tonight? Anyone at all? Seeing none, Mr. O'Dowd, would you like to use some of your time in rebuttal? Thank you. Do we have any questions at this point? Seeing no questions, may I have a motion closing the public hearing, and we're moving to requesting Ryan Yell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just had a question for the board. Does the board have a full-size plat in front of them for this case?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the request for vacation of a 30-foot wide public use easement along Strawberry Road dedicated by Book 197? Dan Young, would you like to state your motion?
Yes, through the chair, in the case of S12414, I move for approval of the request for vacation of a 30-foot wide public use easement along Strawberry Road dedicated by Book 197, page 132, and vacation of a public use easement near the intersection of West 78th Avenue and Jason Place dedicated by Book 59, page 496, subject to recording a suitable plat within 24 months of approval and any approved time extensions.
Thank you. And that motion has been seconded by Valerie Ritz. Would you like to speak to your motion?
Yes, through the chair. I intend to support this motion, and I found that within the staff packet on page 8, the preliminary plat shows a dedication of 30 foot of right-of-way along West 78th Avenue. The dedication will bring the subdivision into compliance with the requirements of AMC 21.08.040A2, and this appears to be in compliance with the Anchorage 2040 land use plan, and conforms with land use objective 2, which is stated on page 8 of our packet, and also transportation objective. The municipality will have the ability to further develop and improve the existing roadways to enhance local vehicular and pedestrian traffic. I find that on page 9, for utility objective 1, the municipality will have adequate space to install and improve stormwater, vehicular, and pedestrian facilities at a later date. And for the authority to vacate these public use easements are surplus to the municipal needs. The dedicated right-of-way will replace the existing public use easement. The easement will be replaced with the 30 feet of dedicated right-of-way. And by vacating the public use easement and dedicating the area to the right-of-way, the municipality will be able to fully utilize this area for future road improvements. Traffic circulation will not be affected through this vacation. And for those findings, I'm going to support this motion.
Thank you. Are there any other findings that the board would like to offer? Is there any opposition motion on the floor? Seeing no opposition, the motion passes. And we have a motion to approve the plat for 24 months subject to conditions 1 through 8 on pages 12 and 13 of the staff packet. Dan Young, would you like to state your motion?
Yes. In the case of S12414 O'Dowd Acres subdivision, I move that we approve the plat for 24 months subject to the conditions stated on page 12 and 13 of our staff packet.
Thank you. And that motion's been seconded by Valerie Ritz. Would you like to speak to your motion?
Through the chair, no thank you. I think it's straightforward.
Thank you. Any other findings? Is there any opposition to the motion on the floor? Seeing no opposition, the motion passes. The board will now take up case S12421, Cilia subdivision, lots 1 through 4 and 15A. May we have staff's presentation?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a request to subdivide one lot and one tract into 5 lots with a variance to Anchorage Municipal Code, Title 21, Chapter 8, subsection 030K5, lot dimensions, to allow the flagpole portion of proposed lots 3 and 4 to exceed the maximum allowable length of 120 feet. This variance request is necessary due to the unique shape of the existing tract and the minimum lot size requirement of 40,000 square feet to allow for the installation of private on-site wastewater disposal systems. The petition site is located along Sheltering Spruce Avenue, west of Voiles Boulevard, east of Northwoods Drive, and north of Green Garden Drive in Chugiak. The purpose of this platting action is to subdivide one lot and one tract into 5 lots to be developed for single-family homes. There is an existing single-family home located on proposed lot 15A, which will remain. The property is zoned CER7. The proposed lots meet the minimum lot size and width requirements of Anchorage Municipal Code. However, lots 3 and 4 do not meet the lot dimension standards of Anchorage Municipal Code for flagpole length. Because of this, the petitioner is requesting a variance to this provision. There were no objections by the reviewing agencies to this platting action or the variance to exceed the allowable length of a flagpole. This preliminary plat appears to generally conform to the petition site's classification, as well as the objectives and goals of the 2006 Chugiak Eagle River Comprehensive Plan. Specifically, this subdivision conforms to Natural Resource Environment Objective 2-F and Housing and Residential Development Goal 3C1A of the Chugiak Eagle River Comprehensive Plan. In regards to the variance request, the petitioner is applying for a variance to exceed the maximum allowable length of the flagpole portion of a lot for proposed lots 3 and 4. This request has become necessary due to the length and shape of the existing tract. In an effort to maximize the number of lots created from this subdivision, the applicant has determined that the proposed configuration is the most efficient design and will make the greatest use of available land. Because sewer service is not available in this area, the minimum lot size is 40,000 square feet in accordance with the applicable provisions of Title 15. Generally, reviewing agencies had either no comment or no objection to the variance request. Therefore, staff recommends approval of the variance subject to conditions. The Planning Department makes the following findings regarding the variance standards. For Standard A, the standard is met. Given the shape and length of the existing tract, it has been determined by the applicant that the proposed configuration makes the most efficient use of available land. The minimum lot size in this zoning district is 20,000 square feet for a single-family home. However, public wastewater service is not available to serve this subdivision. As such, the minimum allowable lot size is 40,000 square feet to comply with the lot size requirements of Title 15 to install an on-site wastewater disposal system. This requirement poses challenges to the applicant because of the existing tract's unique orientation. Redesigning the subdivision so all lots frontage sheltering Spruce Avenue or requiring the dedication and construction of a cul-de-sac for access could result in the loss of at least one lot. Standard B, the standard is met. By granting this variance, proposed lots 3 and 4 will have legal and physical access to sheltering Spruce Avenue. The granting of this variance will not be detrimental to the public welfare or cause adverse impacts to neighboring properties. In addition, the proposed subdivision features lots that are approximately twice the size of surrounding lots. As a result, the separation distance between homes is increased, allowing for the preservation of the rural residential character of the Chugiak area. Standard C, the standard is met. This variance will not result in a nullification of the intent or purpose of the subdivision regulations or the Chugiak Eagle River Comprehensive Plan. This subdivision was designed in accordance with the applicable standards of Title 21 and Title 15. For Standard D, the standard is met. If the variance were to be denied, the petitioner would be forced to eliminate at least one proposed lot to make room for dedicated right-of-way and would be required to construct a cul-de-sac for access. Given that this subdivision is only creating 4 lots, the requirement to dedicate and construct a cul-de-sac to serve 2 or 3 residential lots would likely make this subdivision cost prohibitive. Therefore, staff recommends approval of the preliminary plat and variance subject to the conditions as stated in the staff report on pages 10, 11, and 12 of the staff packet. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions. And thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Does that raise any questions from the board? Seeing none, do we have petitioner's representative with us tonight?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, staff, and the public. I'm Jonathan Lang from Lang & Associates, professional land surveyors, and we have prepared this preliminary plat. I'd like to thank Mr. Yell for doing all the hard work with going through all of the conditions for meeting the standard. We definitely do meet the standard for variance on this, and were it not for the variance, this would be a short plat and we'd already be building houses out there. I'm available for any questions that you have. Thank you for considering this.
Thank you. And you have 9 minutes, 38 seconds for rebuttal. Are there any questions from the board at this time? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We'll now open it up to members of the public. Are there any members of the public here tonight that wish to speak? Are you here on your own behalf or on behalf of?
Behalf of myself, excuse me. Behalf of myself and my husband. He's out of town at this time working. My name is Karen Clement, C-A-R-Y-N. Last name is Clement, C-L-E-M-E-N-T-S. I live at 23001 Sheltering Spruce, directly across from the proposed property.
Okay.
So this is my first opportunity to be able to look through this packet today, and I'm going to just kind of go in order. I haven't been in a kind of meeting like this before. First off, I did notice on one of the pages when they had their community meeting that we were unable to attend, we were out of town, the public comments. It says, as of this writing, 2 public comments have not been received. I would like to know what those comments were. I'm sorry, that's probably too loud for y'all. In regards to the variance request, I have some questions in regards to the variance request when having a large driveway put across, and it's in the easement of the power line, and that's going to 2 properties if you'll look at the map. We're going to have 3 driveways put directly across the street from our home at this time. This street that we live on at this time is a main freeway going to the Northwoods community. So we have a large amount of traffic that goes back and forth through our street. It's unsafe. There's a curvature right there, so putting 2 driveways, or actually 3 driveways on that curvature is going to cause some impediment on visualizing traffic coming back and forth. At this time, there's a lot of safety concerns with the neighbors, with children. At this time, I do not feel it's safe for my daughter to even take her bike or even walk to the school bus because of the traffic that goes back and forth and the speeding, which has been a problem for many years. So basically, I feel it's a safety concern with the amount of traffic that's going to add on to this high trafficked area. And I'm asking the board to consider maybe looking at what it is considered right now, the amount of traffic that's going back and forth, and if that can be looked at. I'm asking to consider decreasing the amount of lots down to 1. I was unfamiliar with what a flagpole portion is, but I did look that up and research that. I guess I'm kind of wondering about, I understand with having to maximize the amount of property back there, but you're putting a maximum of probably 4 cars going in and out of a large driveway, and how is it possible to take that driveway section and build a permanent driveway when you have the power line there, and we own a portion of the power line on the other side of the road, and we're not allowed to build any permanent structures on that. So now on that power line, there's going to be 2 large households with up to possibly 4 cars, if you have 2 adults and maybe children or adult children going up and down that driveway every day. I'm just going to look to see if I made any other notes at this time. Excuse me. I did review the community meeting that we were unable to attend in regards to the septic systems on site.
Thank you, ma'am. That's your time
I'm
limit.
sorry.
I do have for you, thanks to my
Yes, sir.
assistant here, the page 62 and 63 does have the comments you're requesting to get to look at.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And with that, do we have any other questions for Karen Clements? Thank you, ma'am.
I do have a response into this comment, if it's allowable.
Your time is up.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I appreciate your time.
Are there any other members of the public that wish to speak?
Hi, guys. My name is Lucas Sosa, S-O-S-A. I live at 23039 Green Garden Drive. If you are looking at your map, there's a small rectangle to the right side. I am the 3rd one from the right. In between my house, I can bring this up if you guys need to. We have a water easement, which is a drainage, which is for all of Green Garden Drive, which runs directly into the proposed splitting of that one lot, obviously, which is not maintained. Oh, I'm sorry. My apologies. Yeah, so we have a water easement, which is a drainage for all of Green Garden Drive, which runs into where they want to split up into 5 different lots. And from my knowledge, they've tried to develop back there for many years, but it kept failing perk tests, which basically is a test that determines how much water goes into the soil in a certain amount of time. The other thing I have is, I don't know if they're planning on doing single-family homes or if they're doing multifamily homes, but we have a bunch of multifamily homes in Chugiak, which there's quite a few families in there that have been going through neighborhoods and breaking into people's houses, and I'm really not looking forward to multifamily homes in that area, and I'm sure Ms. Clemens can agree to that. But yeah, my biggest concern is that water drainage easement, which runs directly into where they're planning on splitting that lot up, what they're going to do about that. So, any questions?
Thank you. Are there any questions for Lucas Sosa?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Are there any other members of the public that wish to speak on this matter tonight? Seeing none, we'll return to the petitioner. Petitioner's representative, Jonathan Lang.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, to address the questions that were raised or the comments that were raised, as far as traffic on Sheltering Spruce, there wasn't anything that came back from the municipal traffic engineer saying that this would be any sort of an excessive impact. And then addressing the specific comment made about the power line easement, a dwelling would be considered an improvement that would not be allowed in that easement, but a driveway is allowable in that sort of an easement. And then addressing Mr. Souza's questions, drainage is addressed in the staff recommendations, item B6. It says resolve with, I believe, on-site the necessity for drainage. And then his concern about multifamily dwellings are not allowed in Chugach, Eagle River R7. And that's all that I have, unless you have questions.
Thank you. Does that raise any questions from the board? Dan Young.
Yes, through the chair, Mr. Lang. I want to address a couple of these concerns. First, on traffic, you briefly touched on it, but what kind of impact would you, without a traffic study, predict for additional lots would create?
I would ask the staff for some help on this. I believe the average household, Mr. Yell, do you have?
Yes, Mr. Chair, it varies. It's roughly 8 vehicle trips per day for a single-family home. That accounts to going to and from work, errands you may have to run, picking up kids. Roughly 8 vehicle trips per household per day.
Thank you. Through the chair and staff, is that a significant impact or insignificant?
It's insignificant considering the subdivision. If we were talking about a subdivision of 40 lots, maybe a TIA would be justified, but in this case, this is a minimal disturbance in the planning department's opinion.
Thank you. And through the chair, Mr. Lang, there's comments in the packet on page 62 and 63, and on page 63, the comment was about shallow groundwater, and that the entire lot was black spruce. And the comments on page 62 were that about 60% was birch, and that there hasn't been any drainage problems for quite a while. Would you briefly address the issue of shallow groundwater if it exists, and also, while you're doing that, reference your the report that you have on the test holes on pages 28 through 36, where I didn't find any shallow groundwater in these test pits. The shallowest one I found was 8 feet, and most of them were greater than 10 feet.
Mr. Young, actually, as a hydrologist, you'd be better to speak to this than I would, but I'm a professional land surveyor, and that's not my area of expertise. But those soils logs have been included in here because the soil does pass the standard, and I believe there are a total of 8 test holes or 8 test holes plus the existing service on lot 15, and they all passed. They were all acceptable to the standard.
So, Mr. Lang, with respect to the comments on page 62 and 63, regarding shallow groundwater, I saw no evidence of that, and on page 62, on the test pits, I saw no evidence of shallow groundwater, and I couldn't say that 60% of the vegetation is birch, but I could say that it's deciduous vegetation from air photos. It appears that groundwater is deep. So is there any shallow groundwater issues that you're aware of?
Not that I'm aware of, sir.
Thank you.
With that, any other questions from the board? Seeing none, thank you, Mr. Lang.
Thank you.
I will now close the public hearing, and the matter rests with the board. May I have a motion to approve the request for variance from AMC 2108-030? Dan Young, would you please state your motion?
Yes, in the case of S12421, Sela subdivision, I move for approval of the request for a variance from AMC 21.08.030K.5, lot dimensions to allow the flagpole portion of proposed lots 3 and 4 to exceed the maximum allowable length of 120 feet, subject to item number 1 on page 10, recording a suitable plat within 24 months of approval and any approved time extensions.
And Valerie Ritz has seconded your motion. Would you like to speak to your motion?
Yes, through the chair. I believe that the requirements have been met in the staff packet and the staff analysis, that the proposed lots meet the minimum lot size and width requirements of AMC 21.10.060C3, and lots 3 and 4 do not meet the lot dimension. However, because of the flagpole length, and these lots appear, or this plat appears to generally conform with the petition site classification as well as objectives and goals of the 2006 Chugach Eagle River Comprehensive Plan.
Thank you. Any other findings? I would also like to add that I find that there are special circumstances and conditions affecting this specific property. It's the last to be developed in the area. It's already landlocked. There are a minimum number of lots that can be developed because of the lack of utilities to the property and the need for 40,000 square foot lots. We also only would have, if we required them to build the road, it would only serve 2 lots, and that would not be economically viable. I don't think that the granting this variance will affect the public welfare or be injurious to the property in the area. These lots are substantially larger. They're going to support larger houses. They're going to wind up pulling up the value of all of the other houses in the neighborhood because of their proximity to these large lots and large houses. It won't be injurious in that these will be single-family homes just like the homes that are near them. And it does not going to be nullifying the intent or purpose of the subdivision regulations or the comprehensive plan. Undue hardship would result if these guys had to build a cul-de-sac to serve 1 or 2 lots, and having a driveway near a T intersection on sheltering spruce should not be a health or safety or a safety hazard. And with that, I would be supporting the motion. Is there any other findings? Is there any opposition to the motion on the floor? Mark Seward.
Through the chair, I too will be supporting this motion. The 4 conditions are obviously met. As Mr. Lang stated, if we denied the flag portion, they could go short plat, with 4 lots, there would still be 4 driveways accessing Sheltering Spruce Avenue. With the shared access agreement between 3 and 4, they're going to have 1 driveway, so we're going to have 5 lots, and we're still going to have 4 driveways. The line of sight at that driveway is very favorable. There, the safety hazards, anything that exists on that Sheltering Spruce Avenue now is because it's a strip paved with deep ditches there. So I will be supporting this motion tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any opposition to the motion? Seeing no opposition, the motion passes. May we have a motion to approve the plat for 24 months, subject to conditions? Dan Young, would you like to state your motion?
Yes, through the chair. I'm on the case of S12421. I move to approve the plat for 24 months, subject to the conditions listed on page 10 and 11.
Thank you. And Valerie Ritz has seconded your motion. Would you like to speak to your motion?
Yes, I would like to add some findings in that there was comments about potential traffic issues, and staff his opinion that the addition of 4 lots would create an insignificant traffic impact. And there are shallow water concerns on page 63, and I found in the packet on pages 27 through, on 26 through 35, there's a report of test holes and percolation test, and we found tonight that these soils do percolate. I found that there was only one test hole that had water as shallow as 8 feet, which is not considered shallow water in a situation like this, and 75% of the wells were greater than 10 feet deep. So shallow groundwater does not appear to be an issue here. And the vegetation appears, I concur with the comments on page 62 that the vegetation is predominantly at least deciduous, which means that there's a deeper water table rather than shallow. So I think these issues have been met.
Thank you. Are there any other findings the board would like to offer? Seeing none, is there any opposition to the motion on the floor? Seeing no opposition, the motion passes. Are there any appearance requests? Any persons to be heard? Any reports from the secretary or committees? Then in that case, we stand in adjournment at 8:07.
I was just going to add to please keep your staff reports for that first case, please. Thanks.